Good evening, my trailblazing Troodons. I was deeply offended by the community post on the official Honkai Star Rail subreddit. The follow-up post dismissing and ignoring all the valid criticism of their new policy and the game is egregious. Instead of wallowing in sadness about the current state of HSR in the community, you could come to the Gooner side and come to ZZZ fan art. The popularity of Zenless has been increasing steadily, but in the past 2 months, the subreddit communities combined gained 100,000 members. After the HSR community post, every other post in the ZZZ subs was suddenly new player advice please. To give y'all a warm welcome, I put together a little crash course and a timeline of events before the game. I hope you enjoy. I also snuck in some Billy lore, and the next video is going to be about the moon, so feel free to skip this video or straight to the timeline. I'm gonna have a timestamp below. Comparing the gameplay in Zenless Zone Zero and Honkai Star Rail is difficult because they're completely different, but the UI and systems are similar enough. The tutorial is great for explaining the basics and bringing new players to the skill floor. Once you're out of the tutorial, the skills you must master are the rotations and not getting hit. Each character is equipped with a defensive assist or evasive assist. You can find which one and its effects by looking at the yellow icon in the skills menu on each character. In the top right corner, there's a toggle to show multipliers for fine-tuning your agents. The dodge is also important to level because counter dodges can be spammed in endgame content and they have high daze multipliers. The core, basic, special, and ult skills are ideally maxed out on your DPS and sub-DPS. These could be attackers or anomaly agents. The core, skill, and special are the most important on supports. Stunners want their core, ultimate, and special maxed out. Defense units need their core, and they need the one that applies the shield. When fighting enemies, the red flash means swapping will result in a dodge, but a gold flash means an assist will happen. The order for placing agents will depend on their kit and their passives. There are 5 specialties and 5 elements. First, agents can specialize in attacking, stunning, support, defense, or anomaly. If a character has a quick assist, place your off-field anomaly agent or stunner first, and the on-field anomaly agent or attack agent after them. As a general rule of thumb, stunner should always go before the attack agent and off-field anomaly before the on-field anomaly agent, and they are typically put in this type of pairing. I put my support and defense units in the most convenient position for their buffs and shield. To get the most damage, it usually means putting the support first and defense last. Stunners use impact damage to fill the daze bar the fastest, but every move in every kit has a daze multiplier. Every agent also has their own base impact number, similar to break and break bar in Honkai Star Rail. Pen ratio is defense ignore and pen is the flat stat of it. Anomaly mastery is the speed that elemental damage is done, which can be seen in the speed that the circle on the right of the enemy's stat bar fills up. Anomaly proficiency is how much damage is done when elemental damage or the attribute anomaly is applied, like burning or corruption. Electric applies shock, ether applies corruption, ice applies freeze and shatter when it's broken, fire applies burning, and physical applies assault. The fastest way to find the best build is to use the in-game tools. When you're on the character select screen, you can use the special training plan button in the top left corner or select the agent you are building and use the guide at the bottom of their stats. Once you select the agent for your special training plan, it shows their icon in the combat and stage select screens. There's also an option to change the plan and to see the detailed guides on the special plans menu in the More Plans toggle in the top left corner. Now you can flex those amazing builds in the endgame content. Shiyu Defense is like Memory of Chaos. It has a buff that is the same for both sides, but in ZZZ there will always be multiple agents that can make good use of it because of the smaller variety. Deadly Assault is like ZZZ's version of Pure Fiction. DA will have dodging, defensive assists, destroying mobs, and more to give performance points. This lets players get up to 5,000 points added to their score. You only need 6 stars to max out the polychrome rewards, and the other currency is for the logistics shop in the same location, Enscott Outpost. The tower or battle trial at HIA is more difficult, and the polychrome rewards stop at 30 for the permanent one that has no checkpoints, and there is a hidden scene at floor 100, so if you play for lore, this is the real stopping point. The time-limited tower rewards stop at level 50, and it resets in about 40 days from now. ZZZ has Hollow Zero, which is almost identical to Simulated Universe. There are 3 versions. Wither Domain is the base one, Lost Void is the better, cooler version, and Arpeggio Fault is the best of the monitor array. I disliked playing with the agents in normal mode, and I had a blast going through it in the challenge mode to unlock the hard difficulty achievements. It's heavily inspired by the best Explorer side mission, The Prophecy. There's been a lot of foreshadowing that the prophecy will become relevant to the main story, and it's worth setting aside 2 hours to do. The lore behind Hollow Zero is explained in the tutorial, and there is flare text on every item in Wither Domain. Lost Void only has flare text on the buff currency and Explorer badges. Explorer badges are like choosing a path in Honkai Star Rail's simulated universe. I recommend pulling characters for fun and how intuitive their gameplay feels, because no matter what the meta is, if you don't like their kit, you probably won't play them often. Copies of agents are called Mindscape Cinemas, but most people use the letter C like HSR uses the letter E for Eidolons. Wengens, or W engines, are the weapon, and copies are called phases or overlocks. There is no consistent naming convention for what they're called, but I use W. So for example, I would say I have Rena C2W1. The game also makes building A-rank units easier because every agent has a signature Wengen that gives V effects. A huge drawback to this system means that most agents require their signature weapon to feel their best. I get about 140 rolls each month with the login bonus, but I still have to skip a character to guarantee the next character I actually want can get their signature weapon. There have only been 2 W engines from events. Mercado was a game changer. It has crit rate as its substat. I hope the event W engines are this strong moving forward, but no one knows. It's also important to note that limited agents do well with the A-rank weapon from the A-rank agent in the same role. The relic system is called drive discs. Now, there's no differentiation between the different slots and the different types. Like, every drive disc type has a variant for each slot. The most important thing to note is that anomaly agents do best with the elemental damage as the 5th slot, but I noticed that a lot of attackers do better with attack there. Now, for the timeline of events that happen before the game takes place. This is not an exhaustive list of events, and I stopped at the inciting incident. Let me know if you want a lore recap of the game's chapters. We don't have any exact dates for most of these events, but I have a theory about the timeline that hasn't changed after the overhaul in 1.4. There are 2 major eras so far, Eridu and then New Eridu. This is inspired by the Sumerian king list. The flood myth is what inspired the fall of the old capital. New Eridu, which has many inspirations, is the current era of the game. In the prologue, it is foreshadowed that New Eridu will enter the Age of the Hollows at some point in the main plot. Starting with the first thing we know about Eridu is that the Mayflowers found Eridu when they sail their ship up to it and they take their first step onto the soil. Second, the Hollows happen as a result from a war, but we don't have many details on it. We have to skip forward a bunch of time to about 200 years before the game's current events. The Void Hunters save Eridu from the Hollow disaster. The 3rd generation head of the Hoshimi family defeated the Exaltist Overseer. Lady Sunbringer eradicated the Hive-Lord Hollow in the sky. Joy safely returned from the Papago Hollow and was also called the Divine Maze. He also created the standard for Hollow exploration. The leader of the Falcon Ain mercenary group, Colonel Vike and Lieutenant Dan pushed the Dark Wall back 37 kilometers. Professor Archie created Helios Academy, and then he ventured into Hollow Zero and never returned. I really can't see any way of them being playable, but all of their descendants will show up as Void Hunters or somewhere in the story. Next, Eridu flourishes. They have a healthy oil industry and the Hollow disaster is slowly consuming the earth. 5. The Oni and human war begins sometime around then. An ambiguous amount of time passes, and the old oil field folktale about Cinder Lake is said to be about 30, 40, 50 years before the game's events. But it's most likely 50 because of how old Demir talked about it in that one dialogue. The Motor League is formed and Horde Inferno happens every few years to have the most eligible person become the Overlord. Around the same time, Billy and Ching-Yi are made with Eridu technology and they both pass the Forbidden Fruit test. Ching-Yi's memories are wiped and Billy was purchased by the biker gang, Caledon, from a group of drifters. Billy was the champion fighter for the Caledonian biker gang until they broke up. Justin Bringer is saved by a group of survivors and makes it to New Eridu. He decides to join PubSec and works his way through the ranks. Nekomata is taken in by Red Fang Gang. Nicole is adopted from an orphanage and runs away, starting the life of crime. Then, Justin Bringer saves Yu Yuan from a hollow disaster by giving her his anti-corruption gear. Belle and Wise are taken in by their teacher at Helios Academy. Then, a little bit of time passes and the Caledonian biker gang splits up and the Sons of Caledon are formed. Before departing, Billy gave his spare hand to Caesar after the chaos resulted in her losing her hand. She wears it as a prosthetic and ended up with the Sons of Caledon with Big Daddy. It's implied that Big Daddy was the one to start the gang breaking up, and Billy moves to New Eridu, and a friend gives him 2 guns. They actually can speak, but Billy hasn't found out yet. They don't like the Defense Force maintenance oil. Oh, and then Bernice joins the Sons of Caledon. We don't know when Piper joined, but she was a trucker since she was way too young to legally drive, so I'm assuming it's gonna be before this. The Ballet Twin Towers are purchased but have several debacles. Anton is also working for Bellabog Industries and is handpicked by Coors to work on the prototype for the Personality OS. Ben is hired as a laborer around the same time. Then, Yanagi is also fighting in the Defense Forces in the ongoing Oni War. The Oni War concludes with the leader Sukaku's sister making a sacrifice and blessing Yanagi after seeing her selfless nature. Yanagi becomes Sukaku's guardian. The day before the fall of the old capital, though, Coors takes the company funds to finish the payment to Asterism Industries for the prototype being built, but disappears. PubSec deemed this embezzlement, and Asterism Industries never speaks up about getting the payment. This part was changed in the overhaul, and it's the best plot twist, so I'm not going to say anything else. Then, the fall of the old capital happens, when all 14 Shiyu pillars are detonated to save New Eridu from Hollow Zero, and it forms the chasm. Miyabi's mother sacrifices herself and Miyabi inherits Tillis's power. She's now cursed with the demon blade, but her father survives. Astra's parents abandon her, but they both survive. Astra is one of the few that could be saved and has a lot of survivor's guilt because of that. Belle and Wise escape from Helios Academy because their teacher helped them get out. Obsidian Division and a few lucky people from the other divisions of the Defense Force survive. The government decided to sacrifice an entire city to save New Eridu. Grace's family takes Kaleda in, and Anton takes on the role of being their cool cousin. To both of them. And he helps take care of them, instilling Core's beliefs. Belle and Wise break into a Top's vault to recover the technology that their teacher was developing, the HDD and EOS. Miyabi defeats Lerna with the rest of the members who would later become Section 6, and after that she forms Section 6 with Harumasa and Yanagi and Sukaku, because they have the same goal with their work. They want to eradicate all evil. Lycon is in a gang and an absolute edgelord with his emo friend. They break up the group and he starts Victoria housekeeping in Victoria Quarter with Rina. When she joins, she reveals that she comes from a prestigious line of butlers and maids, so she actually teaches him a lot of what he knows. Ambi betrays Opal Squad and leaves them. She joins the Cunning Hares when Nicole finds her and helps Ambi get her paperwork. She takes on Nicole's last name shortly after they find Billy and he joins them. Lighter also joins the Sons of Caledon as their champion fighter after leaving a dark past behind. Jane starts working with the Throne Quarter Public Security as a criminal psychologist who works undercover. Her past is a mystery to everyone but her. Grace attends the Roos Institute and was her professor's favorite student. Ju Yuan joins PubSec and works her way up to captain of her own team. White Star Institute finds Ching Yi and gives her to PubSec. Ju Yuan and Ching Yi become partners, and Seth joins PubSec and works on the criminal investigation team with them under Justin Bringer. Belle and Wise move to 6th Street and open random play. Ellen joins Victoria Housekeeping and enrolls in a local high school or finishing school, which is called Cram School in the game. Kaleda takes on the role of president and promotes Ben to financial and asset management director and Anton to be her aide. Rain leaves the organization, Lucy runs away from home and joins the Sons of Caledon. There, she teaches Caesar piano. Soldier 11 single-handedly stops a rebel group. 2 unnamed people put the 4 AI, Fairy, Ghost, Yukai, and Ginny into the deep inner knot. Rain gives Nicole the commission for the Strongbox, absolutely bonkers, and then the current events start. Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, I think I've earned your subscription. Thank you very much. I hope to see you in the next one. Enjoy!